Please stand as you are able for the reading of God's word. Acts 2:42 through 47. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. May God add his blessing to the reading, hearing, and doing of his word. Amen.
So you can just maybe seated. Thank you. This morning, we're heading into a new series, and it's simply on our vision. I want to be able to paint a picture for all of us, to be able to look at what God has been doing and what he is doing and how we can join him in that. And so what I thought we would do is I'll just give you a quick little rundown of the weeks and the themes, but then I'd like to take some time and look back this week and kind of celebrate. I think it's important to really look at what God is doing, because it's too easy to walk past. You know what I mean? Like the years, just one year after another, they just seem to go by, and it's important that we pause and to say, my gosh, where was I at last year, and what did God do in me and through me, and as a church, in your family, in your job, in your careers, like whatever that is, whatever that looks like, just to be mindful that God is at work and he's up to something. And so I want to capture some of those things, some mile markers, some highlights, some fun times, and some different ways of looking at how we're doing as a church. So we're just going to be looking at a couple of things. Like next week we'll talk about how to experience God, because we're talking about why are we here. That's what vision is, be able to express our why. Why do we exist? Why do we show up every week? Why do we go out there and live it out? And the first thing is to experience God in his fullness. Because if it's about us, then we miss out on all that God has. And then the next week we'll talk about to be an authentic community. And then the next week after that we'll be talking about to be the good news and all that means. And then to be like Jesus. And then the last week we'll say we'll look ahead. I want to be able to share with you where I believe God is leading us. And so I wanted to start very simply, and Will, as I'm doing this, if you could actually pull up, when that comes up, go to our Stone Coast website, okay? And under our church. And some of you, you've heard this before, and for some of you this might be new, but I just want to start very simply by how we chose the name of our church. Stone Coast Community Church, because the first time I heard it, I was like, huh. And Ian's going to get the good and the bad of this. Where's Ian? There he is. So we were sitting there, we were kind of brainstorming, and Ian's like, hey, what do you think about this name? And we had a couple of names going, and I said, well, tell me about that, because the first time I heard it, it didn't resonate. And so we started talking about, what does it mean? And so if you just kind of break it down, and the first thing, excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. Stone is this idea, first of all, Stone Coast has a really New England feel to it, right? With the beaches and the rocky shorelines and different things like that. And when you think about the word stone, in the scriptures, it says that on my rock, I will build my church. And I was thinking about that. I was like, man, this big rock or this stone represents what we want to build upon, right? That he's our rock, that he's our foundation. And that's why when we sing these songs that we can trust in you, it's not because of ourselves, it's because we stand on the firm foundation of Jesus Christ, that he is our rock. But that stone, if you think about it, imagine this big stone in the middle of the crashing coastline, right? Along that coastline, and you have the beauty of what the coastline represents, right? You have the sunrise and the sunset, and you could be on the shore and you'd be looking at that and say, my gosh, it's majestic. And so the coastline represents the beauty of God, But at the same time, in that same image, that stone is getting wave after wave is crashing down upon it. And I feel like there's this beautiful tension of beauty and life intertwined, right? Where we have to live it out, and life is difficult and it's hard. And we're that stone, but as that wave's coming across us, all of a sudden we see God's beauty. And it's a picture of heaven and earth coming together. And I want you to see the symbolism of that because it's so powerful, because it represents our life, it represents our faith journey, and everything that we're about. Because there's always an opportunity to see the good and see the beauty that's already present, but even when the waves feel like they're overwhelming. And then it gets you to the next part, because when life is overwhelming, we need a strong community. And the word community has so many levels to it and layers to it, but right here in this community, the people who call Stone Coast their church, that want to be part of this vision, this mission, want to make a difference in the world. When you come together, this community, it's unstoppable. And I wasn't teasing when Denise was singing that song. When people offer up their gifts, they move you. You're moved when you're in community. We're so much better together, right? When you're a part of something bigger than yourselves, and you believe in this mission and what God has called us to, that's true community. And we want to continue to get better at how do we become more and more authentic in this community? How do we share more the depths of our soul and our being? Because we play it safe so often. I can't wait for, not next week, but the week after. You know, I like every week, but the authentic community one is getting me really stirred up, because it's like if we could only figure that out, when we could love people more deeply and more honestly and take down the walls and really open up and get to know people. Because I believe it's in that, when we understand how to become more vulnerable, that's when God will do his best work. And we'll see that it's not individuals all coming together to this building, but it's truly a community of people who care for one another and would lay down their life for one another and are rallying around each other and pulling for each other and spurring each other on to live out this faith. That we would be each other's biggest cheerleaders, supporters, help each other realize our dreams, and on it goes. And then obviously the other side of that community is this idea of we're always living in community, right? Whenever we leave here, we're going out to our community, the community that we're a part of. And God wants to use you to make an impact, to be the salt and the light like we talk about, to be a blessing giver, right? And we talk about all that we can do in the community. And then lastly, the word church. The word church simply means the sent out ones, right? The church doesn't mean a building where people come on Sunday morning at 10. The church is a bunch of people that said, yes, that I want to follow Christ. Yes, I want to participate in this journey, and I want to make a difference with my life. And I'm being sent out to be the church, to be the hands and feet of Christ wherever we go. And so thank you, Ian, for offering your gift of creativity and for us to land on that name, because it has so much meaning. And I wanted you to be able to hear that, and maybe you can share that with your friends and family and tell them about your church and what it means to you and what it represents and what we're striving to be a part of. All right? Now, Chuck, were you able to get it up there? Now, last week, Chuck referenced our website, and I was just thinking about it. I was like, geez, I bet you more than half of you have probably never read this. And I said, well, I'm going to take a chance. It's Vision Sunday, right? We're in a series. I want us to be able to just kind of capture what the website says. And again, this is like something for you to be able to tell our story. This isn't my story, it's our story. And I got to get a little closer to see it. So it says, first of all, if you're like us, you probably have thought to yourself, there's got to be more to life than this, right? You ever wake up, like that's my whole thing, is like people in your life, right? Including us, but the people that you do life with that may not know God, I guarantee you this thought has gone through their heads. And they're like, there's got to be more to life than what's going on right now. I remember that day so clearly. I was 21 years old. I wasn't yet a Christian. And I was on top of, sorry, I'm moving. Okay. Stay centered. How's that? I remember I was 21 years old, And I was chasing my dream. I was going to be professional baseball player in the minor leagues, and I was going to, hopefully make it big and become a Major League Baseball pitcher. And I had everything that I ever wanted, right? And yet, I remember distinctly saying, there's something missing. There's got to be something more. And it made me think, it's like, until people know Christ and the hope that he has and the plan that he has, it's just like a chasing after these straws, the sand that's sifting through our hands. And I so desire that we could be a church that brings significance and focus to the people in our lives, that they would know this God that we serve, that they would want to know him so much so that they'd want to give their life to him so that they could live it out and be a part of it. Because think about that. There's a void in our life if we haven't satisfied that. And the fullness of life is right there, and it's present. But God is looking to us to continue to share our life with people, to share our story with people, get our hands dirty so that they can see that their life has meaning and significance. So here's our story. In April of 2016, Diane and I, along with some amazing people, started Stone Coast Community Church. We wanted to do church differently. Our heart is to be authentic and vulnerable and to get back to the basics of Christianity. This is so important to me because it becomes so convoluted. There's so many arguments about Christianity versus, wait a second, who could argue with this ideal of saying we're just here to love God, and in our love for God, he calls us to love our neighbor? I don't think anyone can argue with that. If you say, I'm going to show up and care for your needs because I love God, and I love and respect you wherever you're at and whatever you believe in, it doesn't matter to me, but I'm showing up to love you, to love God, love the other, and then go and make disciples. Our passion and purpose is to make a difference in people's lives through the love of Jesus Christ. This means we are a church that sends people into the workplaces, their communities, and neighborhoods, looking for opportunities to serve and meet needs. The church is not just about Sunday mornings and coming to a building. The church is a group of people who live it out in everyday life. We are a come-as-you-are kind of church. We all have a story. We all have baggage. We all have scars. But we all are worthy of dignity. All people. We all have been made in the image of God. We all have been given a purpose, and we all have significance. It's in our diversity and our differentness that binds us together and makes us stronger. We work at being able to show respect to one another by entering into discussion, not trying to be right. Love is so much bigger than our differences. We are not a consumer-minded church. We are a participatory church. If you are looking for a church with the mindset of what can I get out of it, I was trying to be a little in your face on that, sorry. So that was me. The pastor in me was like, all right, we got to, and I mean this, I want you to see this, because we can't be a church that meets everyone's needs. There's 1,000 churches all around the area that people can choose from. I'm looking for people that really want to sign up to make a difference, to really want to participate. And that's when we talk about God's work, is that right? God's work, our hands. This idea of getting dirty, this idea of entering into other people's pains and suffering. Because I don't see a lot of churches doing that. I don't see a lot of Christ followers leaning into that. And I want to be a group of people that we share our stories and we share our lives. This is how we live it out. And as we do that, it's going to be attractive to certain folks. And other people will say, I don't like that. I like just sit and be comfortable. I don't want to do much. I like Netflix and popcorn. All right. If you are looking for a church with the mindset of what can I get out of it, then Stone Coast is probably not the church for you. We always leave a little room there. But if you are looking to be part of a movement and a community of people where you will be encouraged to get in the game of life by getting your hands dirty, then you'll love it. It's fun being part of a group of people who want to meet the needs of others, regardless of where they're on their spiritual journey. If that's you, we'd love to have you participate with us. I look forward to writing the next chapters of this amazing adventure right alongside you. One of the cool things is that we have our church services at the Highlander Charter School I'm ecstatic about this opportunity because our passion is to meet needs in our community. I love thinking about our church being at a place that invests in kids and give them hope for a future. I believe that we are all better together, so I can't wait to figure out ways we can partner with this amazing school. We aren't promised tomorrow, so while we still have the gift of today, let's live it fully in Christ. So our vision is to be people who authentically live in response to God's invitation, bring beauty and justice and our love for God and others to the world. And said simply, we're here to bring the good news. So our why, the Bible keeps it very clear and simple. We are here to love God, love our neighbor, and go and make disciples. We believe this happens best in community with a diverse group of people who are willing to get in the game of life and get their hands dirty. We will care for the poor, give hope to the next generation, and bring dignity and compassion to the marginalized. This happens because of a loving, surrendered relationship with Jesus Christ. God's work, our hands. A story. I want you to be a part of that. We're far from perfect, but we're striving to make a difference in every aspect of that. And I'm excited about sharing with you all that God's been doing. And it's humbling to me. And I just want to take a moment to kind of share with you a story about looking back over this past year. I want to celebrate you being the church. And in doing that, we've talked a lot behind the scenes as far as saying, what's our scorecard? Meaning, how do you measure yourself? How do you know if you're becoming the church that you believe God is calling you to be? What do you measure? And a lot of times in churches, they go up and, how big are you? And I'm like, well, I don't know if it matters how big we are, but it does matter how much we get done. And I want you to look at some of these things because the things that we do care a lot about that I'm capturing, it's hard to capture the heart issues, meaning we care about your growth, and there'll be a whole week dedicated to how do we become more like Christ and develop in discipleship, right? That's very hard to statistically show on a screen, right? But we want to get better at that by trying different things. But the things that we can capture, I think, is pretty amazing. Just to be able to share with you for the last few minutes here. And I just wanted to talk about how we're loving and caring for one another, and both in the church and in the community. And I wanted to start by sharing with you about this being a church family. And one of the things that's a privilege about being your pastor is that I get to see how your generosity impacts real life people. Kara and Dawn, can you raise your hands? So Kara and Dawn are my advisors, and I go to them and I say, this family who's in need, and I want to be able to help. I just ask them to pray about it and to think about it. And a lot of times it's a messy situation. And it always amazes me when they come back to me and share with me their advice. And there's a story here of a family, going to remain anonymous, but I wanted to capture it because I feel like it's the heart of our church. There's a family at our church, and they lost one of their parents this year. And so there was an inheritance. And they've always been faithful and generous in their giving. And so it wasn't even a question. And they just decided to give to the church what they would always give through their tithes and offerings. And it was a large sum of money. And what they didn't know is it was at a time where it was so, like, the timing was so beautiful because it was like there was a couple of families that were in need. And I'm looking at the budget, I'm saying, we don't have it in our budget for this. And yet, Karen Dawn was like, but I think we need to do this. And so in faith, before we knew about this gift, we already decided that we were going to bless this family. And every time when I do that, I'm like, oh God, you need to come through here. It was like 2 weeks later that they said, it's going to be a gift in the offering. And it doesn't matter the amount, but I was able to bless other people in this church tremendously. And so, just so you know, this past year, I'm talking about for all the families that have been blessed here as a church, we were able to give back $20,000 to care for the people here. I've been in church leadership for over 20 years. I've never seen that. I mean, it absolutely blows me away. And whenever I talk to a family who's receiving, some of you have been here long enough that you know that we do a giving and receiving table because we want to practice both sides of that. The families that are on the receiving side of that, when I have my conversations with them, I'm just like, guess what? In due time, you'll get to pay this forward through your giving and through your generosity. And to me, it's just this beautiful picture because it's like when one family needs help and another family's doing well, you come together in that Acts 2:42 scripture that we read where they were devoted to one another and they shared with one another and they took care of each other's needs. That's a beautiful picture. And over this last year, so many of you, through your giving and through your generosity, made it possible for us to care in some really amazing ways. The reason why, we're not going to embarrass anyone, families that have received on that end, but if they were to stand up and share, it's life-changing. Life-changing. Help them out of some very, very deep, dark places. And so, thank you for that. And then in our community, we do a lot with, we call them our, partnerships, And so we partner with Greenlock Therapeutic Riding Center in Rehoboth. We work with Matheson Street Church in Providence. So I should have said with Greenlock, the kids that go to Greenlock have severe disabilities. And so Greenlock uses horses to help them with therapy, okay? And I'll talk more about that in a minute. And then Matheson Street is a place, it's a church that every Sunday they have a breakfast for folks that are struggling with homelessness. And then we partner, obviously, with Highlander, the charter school here, and then also Baldwin Elementary School in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. We have the business that we started, Four Echoes, okay, so put that up there. And then we also partner with the Health Equity Zone of Bristol Warren. And so I wanted just to capture a few things just to kind of put in perspective the difference that you all have made in the community just by showing up and being present. And so what we were able to capture is, a lot of times we were able to capture how many volunteers and how many hours of serving did we do. And so at Greenlock, one of our dreams at Greenlock is once or twice a year we'll go there, and some of you have been there, and we just serve. It's just show up for 3 hours or something like that on a Saturday or whatnot. And we want to help them in any way we can. So sometimes it's painting, sometimes it's raking, sometimes cutting down trees. It goes on and on. But why we do that is just to help them do what they do better. And so we had 35 volunteers and over 105 hours of serving at Greenlock this past year. And one of the things that I want to continue to do with them is make our relationship with them so that we can help them more than just with the outside helps, but with the families that go there. So my heart's desire is, and this is kind of some of the forward thinking, is I want to be able to set up this school, in the summertime. I want to set up a place in here. I talked to the principal where we can have a space that's set up all summer long and provide care for kids with disabilities so that their mom and dad can go out and have a date night, or they can go out to dinner, or they can go shopping, or whatever. It's just this opportunity for them to have some time together. Because I was thinking about saying, my gosh, it's so hard, 24/7 care. When do they ever get a break? How are their marriages working out? And if we can be the church and come alongside them by just providing a space where some of you could come in and volunteer and take 3 hours out of your time so that these kids can have a safe place to come to while their parents go out and kind of get rejuvenated and refreshed. And so anything that I say here, I'm going to always, I'll keep saying it throughout the weeks, but if you have a desire to get involved, please come see me. These are the different things that we do partner with and would love to get you more involved with. All right? And then next is at Mathewson Street, over 240 hours of serving and bringing dignity to those who are often overlooked. Jerry goes there almost every single Sunday and just spends time getting to know people there. And when we try to invest in different folks there, and then a lot of times our music team will go there and sing music with them. And so I talk to Jerry all the time. I said, you're my eyes and my ears. When you're going there, just looking for you to create relationships with folks, and then maybe as a church, we can come alongside one person at a time and see what we can do to help a person who was homeless to no longer be homeless. And in that process, bring respect and dignity and love and compassion into that person's life so they realize that they're not overlooked, and that they're loved and cared for, and that there's a church that cares about them and is trying to solve the problem of homelessness one person at a time. Okay? The next one is the Baldwin and Highlander. I kind of put this together because at Baldwin, some of you serve at Baldwin on a regular weekly basis, so if you'd like to do that, you can talk to Dawn. Every week, you can go in there and be a teacher's assistant, and you spend a couple hours. Is it a couple hours a week? Yeah, so a couple hours a week. Some of you already do that, and by doing that, again, these kids, it's over like 95% of the kids are on the free lunch program. They come from difficult backgrounds, difficult family situations, and just by being there, you get to hear their stories and come around them, and it's one of those, it's a very, when you give, you receive, and so as you go there, like I love going there because it's like when the kids just come and give you big hugs, and they scream out, they're all excited to see you, and you just don't know the seeds that you're planting and the hope that you're giving these young people. And so one of the cool things is we have some adults that go there on a regular basis, but then also I'll take some kids from Highlander. So I'm taking high school students from here, and then we drive down there, and we'll go for like 2 times a week, and it's like 4 months out of the year. And it's an opportunity for me to take high school kids that I'm helping to mentor and then put them in an environment where they're in a leadership role. And so it's funny because a lot of the kids that I'm bringing come out of a home life like that. And they get to know these kids and they get to know their stories, and all of a sudden they're in a leadership role and they're an opportunity to give back. And it's fun to watch the dynamic unfold there. And so if you'd like to participate in that, we're always looking for people to help with driving and just being a part of that. And then this past year, we had 160 hours of volunteerism and over 450 hours of the students from Highlander going over there. So that was pretty amazing. All right. This next one is ridiculous in a good way. But at Four Echoes, so some of you don't know the story, at Four Echoes, we started a business, and it's a not-for-profit. And the purpose of it, I'm going to be very short and quick with this, but the purpose of it was to be able to create an additional revenue stream in order to help with our partners, to help with homelessness, to help with foster care, to help with kids with disabilities and whatnot. So we need a lot of volunteers to make this happen. And so we have over 30 volunteers over this past year and over 2,700 hours served. 2,700 hours served. That's unbelievable. And if you haven't gone over there yet, first of all, just go and shop and have fun and get over there. But if you'd like to volunteer, one of the coolest things that we've found about it, not only are we able to give back into the community, show up the pictures of Gerard and, not that one, okay, those are 3 of the students I've been bringing over there to help me out on Wednesdays, the graduation picture. So last year we were able to give 2 students from here $1,000 scholarship to college. And these are these are two of the young men, Alan and Gerard, that I mentor. And by being over there at Four Echoes, you get to do these cool things about giving back. But one of the things that was really neat about showing up there is that it becomes ministry each and every day. So as you're serving and volunteering there, you're literally getting to know people's stories. It's kind of like when you're, if you're going to a hair salon and you kind of, with the what do they call her, hair salonist? When you're with the hair salonist, you share all your stuff. I have a friend who's a hair salonist, and I say, you're like a pastor, because I go in there and all the ladies are like sharing all their stuff with them, And I'm like, you need to give like good advice because, So it's like that at the store. It's like all these people show up, and just over time, you get to know their name, you get to know their story, and you get to pray with them, and all these great things happen just by being present. And that's one of the things I want you to hear. By you being present, by you saying yes and participating with what God is doing, you never know how he's going to use you to bless another person. So here's another opportunity you can get involved. And then through the Health Equity Zone of Bristol and Warren, we teamed up and we did the Courageous Kids Camp, which was awesome. We did that right in Bristol. We had over 20 volunteers serving and over 400 hours served in 1 week time. And we had, I think we had close to 90-something kids show up from the community. It was just a phenomenal week. And all the volunteers that showed up were investing in these kids that couldn't afford to go to the other camp that was available. And so it was just this great movement of like, wow, every day more and more kids showed up because of what was happening on the Commons. And it was really neat to see. And it was like the folks that showed up really got to see, wow, by you being here, you're making a difference. And you're seeing like a community, when I say transform, a little bit, like 1 degree at a time, but you're seeing it be transformed a little bit at a time. And it's so neat to be a part of that. And then we did the Don't Give Up signs. And I don't know if we did 20, 30, 40, whatever it was, but a lot of you took those signs and put them all over the different communities that you live in. And throughout the weeks we've shared stories, so I don't want to go back into that, but some of the stories that we've heard about putting these signs up has just made a tremendous difference in your communities, and people coming up to you and asking you about your sign and tell me more about it. And it's a chance for you to share your story with people. And then the other thing that we did was we did backpacks for the kids in need in Bristol. And I think we did over 30 backpacks filled with school supplies. And it goes on and on. We did bags of hope and different things like that. But I just want you to see, by participating in, and I would suggest in kind of small ways, what God can do with that and bring about big change in people's lives. And I want to encourage you to continue to do that. Continue to show up and make a difference. Find out what your niche is. Find out that place that you're passionate about. Find out that place that, I'd like to try that. Over these next weeks, I'll be painting a picture about the different things that are some of the bigger endeavors that we have. There'll be great opportunities for you to get involved.